Bible operates by pattern. The Bible operates by pattern. When we are entered into the book of Genesis chapter 1, 2, and 3, we are entered into pattern. Pattern for how things work within the religious world. Pattern for how things work within the religious world. And we, in our previous meeting, dipped into Revelation 12 to examine that pattern. And to just touch on that a little bit more or briefly, there are many ways to interpret that Revelation chapter 12 and verse 1, that woman in heaven, crown of 12 stars, standing upon the moon, clothed with the sun. We can take this imagery from, as Paul to the Corinthians says, the light of the gospel. This woman is clothed with the sun or the light of the gospel. She's standing upon the foundation of that. Now the moon bears witness to the sun. The moon gets its light from the sun, supposedly. So we have to be able to understand how to fit that context into that light of the gospel, and what shines or what is supposed to shine through or from is the Old Testament concerning that gospel. So this woman is standing upon the Old Testament, and specifically what is written in the prophets and the Psalms concerning that light. Standing upon the Old Testament, wearing the light of the gospel, and a crown of 12 stars, or as we saw, 12 brethren, more fitting, 12 apostles. So what we have here is, in one scheme of thought, the Christian church. Woman always equals church to the Bible's mind, and especially in vision. We have a church here, clothed with the light of the gospel, standing upon the witness of the Old Testament and the fulfillment of those prophecies, and everything therein, to bear witness to that light, and a crown of 12 on her head. Now that may seem fair, but what's not taken into consideration when such interpretations are made is that the one observing this is saying that this is a great wonder. This is a great wonder. Now the context for a great wonder within the revelation is never positive. It's never positive. Revelation 17:6. And I saw the woman drunken with the blood of the saints and with the blood of the martyrs of Jesus. And when I saw her, I wondered with great admiration. Revelation 13:13. And he doeth great wonder, so that he maketh fire come down from heaven on the earth in the sight of men. That was Revelation 17:6, Revelation 13:13. The assumption that is always made is that this is a true, pure church that we're seeing in heaven, but never taken into consideration that this is a great wonder. Whenever the viewer of this vision is observing whatever is perceived to be a wonder and great, it is never in a positive context. This woman that we are seeing, this is not a woman to be admired. There's actually already a woman in existence in heaven. There is already a woman in existence already in heaven. Galatians 4:26 puts this simply, but Jerusalem which is above is free, which is the mother of us all. This is a great wonder, and should be a great wonder, because how is this other female appearing? From where did she come from? This isn't the normal setting. This is very strange. And yet there should appear another great wonder, another strange thing. Because a dragon should come forth and sweep this woman's stars to the earth. Now, the mother, the original woman that's there, she's not disturbed. Dragon doesn't want to come after her because she's untouchable. That's home. That's the home base. This other female, this other woman, this other church, she's touchable. There's no protection for her. So when we're seeing this great wonder and things going on, we have to put this into the perspective of the viewer. The viewer of the revelation is seeing something strange and foreign because this is a strange and foreign woman. This is a strange and foreign woman. And her stars, which we saw, Revelation 1 tells us the definition of stars, which is angels. Angels translates to messengers. Messengers are swept from above to below by that dragon. They are taken from their position by the tail of that dragon, and they are swept to the earth. Now, this is all figurative language. None of this is real. None of this is literal. None of this ever happened. This is all figurative language to highlight the principle underlying the actual revelation that is therein. What we have is a church. We have a church. And a church that is a great wonder. She's not supposed to be there, but she's there somehow. She's there somehow. She's not supposed to be there. We know that she's not supposed to be there because her stars are a bit fraudulent and weak. They have been swept by the tail of that dragon. In the book of Isaiah, as I mentioned previously in our previous meeting, I didn't quote, just mentioned from the book of Isaiah, the tail is considered to be the false prophet. The tail is considered to be the false prophet. So this church has a false message and false messengers sweeping her from where she is supposed to be above, supposed to be, to the earth, which is figurative language. She's cast down. Now this, I'm pointing all of this out because I'm still wanting to highlight the correlation that the narrative of the book of Genesis gives in chapters 1 and 2 and 3, correlation to the Exodus, and then the correlation to what we spoke about in our previous meeting concerning 538 to 1798 and the emergence of Protestantism from out of that. It is the same narrative. It is the same narrative. In every instance, there will always be a sweeping. The pair in Eden were swept away. They were considered to be the true church, right? This pair, the founding of the true church, I'm keeping it simple, but they were swept away. This woman in heaven is a great wonder. She's not supposed to be there, yet she is somehow. There's something maybe decent about her. There's something indecent about her. Nevertheless, she's still there. And yet, swept away, and then has to go into hiding. Her stars and her messengers swept away. That's because the theme of a serpent entering the fold is a consistent and a continual theme that goes on. The theme of a serpent entering and doing the sweeping away. Looking at Micah 7 and 17. What is meant by serpent? What is meant by serpent? That garden is not a literal garden. I've went through that illustration plenty of times. I won't review that here. That garden is actually the ground of an assembly. It is a church. It is a vineyard. All figurative language. Entered into that fold is a serpent. Now, in context, how should we view this serpent? Micah 7:17. Micah 7:17. They shall lick the dust like a serpent. They shall move out of their holes like worms of the earth. They shall be afraid of the Lord our God and shall fear because of thee. When we're hearing serpent, we should hear or think on worm of the earth. Bibles, we're just going to keep this simple here. Serpent, a serpent is a worm of the earth. Now, what is a worm? What is a worm? Job 25, 4 through 6. Job 25, 4 through 6. How then can man be justified with God, or how can he be clean that is born of a woman? Behold, even to the moon, and it shineth not. Yea, the stars are not pure in his sight. How much less man that is a worm? And here's the key. How much less man that is a worm, and the Son of Man, which is a worm. When we're hearing serpent, and when we're seeing the Bible associate serpent with worm, and when we're seeing worm associated with Son of Man, This lets us know that there is more to that narrative in Eden than we may think.
Knowing Bible is a course for learners wanting to grow closer to themselves and to their Creator. There is a reason why we trust the Bible. There is a reason why the Bible moves us to celebrate it. There is also a reason why we feel hesitant to let the Bible's words satisfy us. Traditional religious theory isn't always satisfactory. Carrying a belief without proof will soon aggravate our thoughts and feelings. Knowing Bible is a course that is designed to wake us up to who and what our belief is. Knowing Bible is for learners that want a living experience beyond conventional religion. Don't let this educational opportunity slip away from you.
Now this woman emerges. A woman emerges somehow and from some way into what is called heaven, clothed with the sun, moon under her feet. Again, just briefly touching on this, Psalm 89, 36 and 37. Psalm 89, 36 and 37, his seed shall endure forever, and his throne as the sun before me. It shall be established forever as the moon and as a faithful witness in heaven. Now, in our previous meeting, I mentioned that the Bible talks about the moon as being related to or in reference to a faithful witness. That's this verse. And along with these verses, Psalm 89, 36 and 37, we are seeing that the sun is equivalent to a throne. The sun is equivalent to a throne. That faithful witness, the moon. So this woman is actually standing upon a faithful witness. She's clothed with a particular throne. And when we think throne, don't think royal, think position. The light of a particular position. And she's got a crown of those same 12 brethren around her head, or 12 stars. This position, this woman is a great wonder. She shouldn't be there. It's an amazing thing for this individual observing this to see, because she should not be there. Yet she is. Somehow she has garnered position, and that's just ridiculous for some reason to the one viewing this revelation. Her stars are swept. Serpent is entered into the fold. And what enters into the fold, what sweeps down, is not a literal serpent, is not a literal dragon. It is a particular message and a particular messenger. It is messengers having a particular message. What I'm doing here is I'm creatively and figuratively discussing the history of the Christian church. Creatively and innovatively talking about the history and figuratively of the Christian church, which may have some sort of origin somewhere that is decent, but in the end mixed with Hellenistic Judaism, and then mixed with the paganry of its day. The Christian theory never really began in any sort of purity. And as time went on, more and more things got added to it. The philosophy of Plato, for example, got added to it. Much got added to this theory that took it away from the state that it was in. And once it got taken away, it got thrown down to the earth. This is figurative language. Thrown down. What took it away was that serpent. Not literal serpent, but serpent as in worm. Not literal worm, but worm as in Son of Man. Why is the Son of Man considered a worm? Why is the Son of Man, we can fairly say, considered a serpent? Ecclesiastes 3 verse 18. Ecclesiastes 3 verse 18. I said in mine heart concerning the estate of the sons of men, that God might manifest them, and that they might see that they themselves are beasts. Remember, The serpent was more subtle than any beast that was made. There's a reason why the serpent is called a beast. And there is a reason why the Son of Man is called a beast. All through the book of Ecclesiastes, the Son of Man or the sons of men are highlighted as beasts because they are vile concerning how they regard the things within the scriptures. They are vile concerning how they handle the things concerning the living God's devotional character. Ecclesiastes chapter 3 tells us that their curse is to only have the religious world in their heart, that they may never know anything, concerning the mind within the scriptures. To the one writing the book of Ecclesiastes, such characters, such a class or group called the Son of Man or the sons of men, they are beasts. And it is this type of beast, this type of worm, this type of serpent that does the sweeping away historically in ecclesiastical history over and over again to the supposed true, quote unquote, true church that is then highlighted in that time or in that age. I'm citing this for the purpose of continuing the narrative and to continue to provoke thought, of Genesis 1 and 2 and 3 being ecclesiastical records, being an ecclesiastical vision for a repeating history going on within the religious world. Within the religious world, there will always be and should always be male and female coming together to form one entity to subdue and to dominate the earth. During that time of male and female's rule, as cruel as it will be to the earth and to the world of its own partaking, there is to emerge an Adam. There is to emerge an Adam, leading an exodus from out of the land that confined conscience into a land and territory of their own. Whatever this land of territory is called, whether it is Eden, whether it is Canaan, whether it is Protestantism, the story is the same story. Yet once in that territory, there will always arise a serpent, or a worm of the earth, or a son of man. A son of man will always arise once the Exodus is doing its thing, and once the assembly of the Exodus has isolated themselves from male and female, once male and female are swept away for whatever is sweeping them away and are left void and without form, a serpent will arise, worm will arise, Son of Man will arise. And Son of Man is not anything fanatical or anything like this in the Bible. I'm keeping this to the Bible here. Son of Man, sons of men, I've explained in episodes prior, these are priests. Sons of men are priests born from priests. Men conceived from men. Men can't give born to men, right? Jacob gave birth to men. This man begat that man. This man begat that man, says the Bible. There's no woman mentioned of giving birth to any of these figures. There are only men that are begatting or getting men from men. It's not literal. It's not literal, this begetting. This is a begetting of mind. This is priest giving birth to priest. This is priest kind, as we saw. Mankind, this is priest kind. Kind of man giving birth to kind of man. This is Hebrews 5, 1 and 2. It's this position that when taken into consideration concerning Genesis 1 and Genesis 2 and Genesis 3, that repeats. And when all of this takes place, a particular priest will arise to unsettle the assembly within their territory. I don't want to think literal priest. I'm not going to that far. Priest as in message. Priest as in message. Getting away from the literal, looking at it in a more philosophical sense. Words, message, doctrine. When Eden was set, doctrine upset it. When Israel was set, doctrine upset it. When Protestantism was set, doctrine upset it. And this doctrine is symbolized by that worm. This doctrine is symbolized by that serpent. This doctrine is symbolized by that Son of Man. Not a literal serpent, not a literal worm, not a literal Son of Man, not a phenomenal serpent, not a fanatical worm, not a superstitious Son of Man. Message gets into the assembly. Message gets into the territory and upsets it. I'm pointing all of this out to show the repeating history that is articulated within Genesis 1, Genesis 2, and Genesis 3. From every woman mysteriously appearing in heaven, clothed with the sun, standing upon the moon, and with a crown of 12 around her head. This woman is a repeating woman. These scenes are repeating scenes. This is the ecclesiastical history that the Bible is letting their reader into.
We are to have, as is said and believed when it comes to life and religion, faith. But when it comes to exercising faith, a very crucial aspect of having and exercising faith isn't mentioned. In order to have faith in anything, we need to know what we would have faith in. This book looks into how the Bible defines the process of justification. We are supposed to know what we believe. Personal knowledge will bring life to our experience with the Bible. Get justification to know how to safely take care of your faith.
In the book of Isaiah, chapter 9 and verse 15. In the book of Isaiah, chapter 9 and verse 15, this is the verse I've been referencing, but I have not been quoting it. Isaiah 9:15, it reads, "The ancient and honorable, he is the head, and the prophet that teacheth lies, he is the tail." The ancient and the honorable, he is the head, and the prophet that teacheth lies, he is the tail. When we're hearing in the book of the Revelation, chapter 12, the tail of the dragon sweeping away that woman's stars to the earth, what we are actually hearing is about a lying prophet from whatever that dragon represents, sweeping away messengers and the message connected to that woman. This is figurative language. The author writing this chapter, dealing with the context from the previous chapter 11, and then the context of the chapter after. When you get to Revelation 12, you know where you are. You are at a time where there is a great wonder in heaven. There is a new mysterious religion. There is a new mysterious church in the realm of where God is supposed to be. This is the Christian church with their Christian theory. Clothed with the sun, standing upon the moon, and a crown of 12 stars around her head. This sun, you can say light of the gospel, but that really wouldn't do it. That really wouldn't do it. This light, this sun, from 2 meetings prior, this is the labor of the sun. The labor of the sun. And the light of the gospel is connected to the labor of the sun. Both are one and the same. Labor of the sun connected to everything that the sun, historically and anciently, in a religious or superstitious sense, is for. That's really what that light is. And especially to Gentile Jews. Standing upon the foundation of the moon, or of the faithful witness of which is mentioned earlier in the Revelations. We know who that is. We know where we are. We know what we're dealing with here. This is the Christian church. The Christian church swept away. Christian church swept away. Swept away by a lying prophet. Same history here, lining up with the same history from Eden. The pair swept away from a lying prophet. And not literal prophet, because this is not an isolated individual, in Genesis 1, 2, and 3. These are not isolated events. Genesis 1, 2, and 3 are about a repeating history. These figures and these characters do not represent literal figures and characters. They symbolize philosophical concepts, repeating philosophical concepts. And the author of the book of Genesis is giving insight to the reader into the philosophical concept of how things work within the religious world. They're doing so that we individually can understand what's going on with things within the religious world. So we can become smart to it, tuned to it. But the author of the Bible, Genesis 1, 2, and 3, is doing this also to inform the reader, to engage them on a more suitable practice for the devotional conversations, thoughts, and feelings. When you're seeing all of this going on within the religious world, when you're seeing how things go and the repeating history attached to it, we're supposed to grow smart personally. We're supposed to grow smart personally and catch the lesson. To catch the lesson that we need to take responsibility and full accountability for the growth and the development of our conversation's conscience. When we are up to date with the characters therein and the routine presented to us and the nature, we are supposed to take personal accountability and responsibility for how our devotional conversation is handled. Doing so, we can have the Adam experience personally, regenerating from that dust. We know what that means. Regenerating from that dust to embrace newness of spirit. No longer a letter that we are fulfilling, but we are honoring an experience leading to the practical growth and development of our conversation's character to, in the end, better what is within the being of our individual human.